When you read David Allen's Getting Things Done, you'll find all of the steps that he advocates for becoming productive. One of them is the weekly review, where we do a mind sweep and get our ideas, action items, and thoughts out of our head and into our system. Hi, I'm Dave Edwards. Today we'll be talking about the truth of the GTD Weekly Review. By nature of the title, the book urges you to find a time every week when you should do a mind sweep, but also review other projects and lists. In a recent conversation, I asked David Allen about the concerns people have when they want to stay productive, but can't get around to doing that review every week.
How do you make is there anything magic, first of all, about doing it every week as opposed to every 10 days or any 2 weeks?
No, no, that just turned out to be kind of the norm, for most people. There were times I had to do something like a weekly review daily because things were so chaotic, to kind of come up for air and look around and locate myself again in space and time needed some sort of an upper recalibration, much more frequently than just weekly. And sometimes these days, given my life and lifestyle now, I don't have that many projects, nor are they that complex. I've got some big ones, but they're not something that I need to, look at in serious detail other than when I'm working on the project itself. So now I probably do a pretty thorough weekly review every 2 or 3 weeks. That's
Mhm.
fine. But a brief weekly review is just look at your last 2 weeks on your calendar, and then look at your next 4 weeks on your calendar. God, that'll most people would improve their life if they just did that. How long would that take?
Mhm.
And then, scan through your list, say, hey, which ones have I finished and I can mark off. There are times I've been so busy, the weekly review is the time to mark off about 15 things I hadn't even had time to mark off as done yet.
Yeah.
So again, yeah, there's no hard and fast formula that has to be weekly. Uh, Although we've never seen anybody who started to do it weekly that didn't say this is the best thing they did all week.
Yeah.
Their priorities.
There's no doubt by mine. I just feel so relieved when I've completed the exercise, because then I can just forget about it. I just know that things are in my system and it'll be taken care of. But that also kind of raises, like, do I have to do what I call the full blown, full service weekly review every week, or can I? Like, do I have to
The
look at
full Monty
to make
review,
sure
right?
that I haven't forgotten something?
Yeah, I don't know. You need to do it as often as you need to get it off your mind. See, if you're not doing a weekly review, you're trying to do it all the time, just not finishing.
Right.
You're trying to remember what you need to remember, what you need to remind yourself about, what you need to be aware of, so that you're feeling okay about what you're doing and what you're not doing. If you're not doing that as a more conscious, objective exercise, then there's a part of you that's trying to do it subliminally all the time,
Hmm.
but you're never finishing. So,
Hmm.
I mean, to your point, once you actually do a weekly review, then you don't have to think again for another week. All you have to do is respond and follow the menu and follow the options, and,
Right. Right.
and whatever.
I like the three prongs that you've identified as part of the weekly review: the get clear, get current, get creative. But my problem sometimes is that I'm not I'm not necessarily allowing myself the time to be creative unless I sit down to, do the weekly review. I mean, that's my only time sometimes to think creatively about certain elements.
Yeah. Well, the weekly review is not a static process. It's actually in and of itself is a creative process, in a way, to your point, because you're not, if I'm doing a weekly review, I'm looking at something, I'm looking at a list and go, oh, that reminds me, maybe I ought to, or ooh, it'd be cool if I. And that's a constant process that kind of goes on when I sort of put my life and my world out in front of me. So it's not like, as I said, it's not like some static, boring thing to do. It's actually quite a creative process. And so just being creative almost as the afterthought is the kind of the result of doing, getting complete and getting current. It just happens.
I'm really glad to hear you say that, because I find sometimes that when I'm doing my review or when I'm concentrating on my action list and I'm looking at item A, B, and C, all of a sudden my brain gets this brilliant thought about item E that I hadn't been focused on, but something clicks where my mind just moves to that next thing. And it's like, wow, I never thought of that before.
Yeah.
I,
And make sure you capture that. The muse is fickle. She
yeah.
comes and goes. She comes and goes pretty fast. So,
My problem is sometimes then I want to spend too much time on E and not go back to A, B, C.
but that's okay if you don't have anything else to do for the day.
Yeah.
Why not? Just go down the rabbit trail.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. So the key is really to make the weekly review a habit, make it just such a routine part of your life where it's no longer like a task. It's just something you're going to do every Friday or every Sunday or whatever.
Yeah, that's a real good idea until at some point you get so used to having nothing on your mind, you have to do the weekly review or something akin to that to keep your head clear.
Yeah.
So once you get used to a really clear head, you do what you need to do. I do. I do what I need to do. Just keep
Yeah.
it clear. It's a very cool thing to do. So yeah, those habits help you get to the place where you start to get familiar with that clarity and that open space cognitively. But I guess once you get used to it, you'd be uncomfortable without it.
Yeah. Do you find that your whole process has changed now that you're not, traveling 3 times a week and you're leading the lifestyle that you are, where you have, as you said, fewer projects? I mean, is that like changed your approach to the weekly review?
Not really. Other than maybe I don't need to do it as often as I needed when my life was busier, more complex.
Hmm. Hmm.
But that's all.
And my final point about weekly reviews is those of us who have bought into GTD and find it comforting to follow the principles, um, it could get frustrating when we're working around other people who don't embrace any of these principles and start falling behind. And like if you're managing these people, you want to just kind of shake them and go, here's the book, read it. But you can't force somebody to do this
No, you can't.
other than for
Yeah,
them to see how it works for you.
yeah. And again, GTD is not some sort of cult or some sort of magic pill or some sort of hallucinogen, that everybody gets hooked into. Come on, it's just good business. So you get people to do it. Well, first of all, why would you not be focused on desired outcomes? Why would you not have people keeping track of that? Why would you not have people clarifying what's the next step on this thing we've agreed we need to do and who's doing it? I mean, those are just good business decisions. It's also the essence of GTD. It's called outcome and action thinking, on anything that got your attention. But a lot of teams and a lot of people just got used to a lot less than pristine and being clear.
Mhm.
How late are people okay to come to meetings? How okay is it for people to be on their laptop and their phone while somebody's talking about something that they should be paying attention to?
Mhm.
David Allen is the author of Getting Things Done. I have the privilege of discussing his systems and ideas with him on a regular basis. Don't miss any of them. Please consider subscribing to the series and hit the like button too. I'm Dave Edwards. Stay productive.